Hi everyone, I'm Xenia Chen and welcome to another episode of Threads Office Hours where I answer questions about our brand, products, story, anything goes. These questions are submitted by you, our community, and if you have a question that you want me to answer on a future episode, I would love to hear from you. You can submit it in the comments below or in the form in the caption. Today, we are going to do something a little bit different. Our entire episode today is going to be dedicated to answering questions about our male community. So, our men who wear tights, what their favorite products are, why they wear tights, pretty much all the questions we always get about the topic of men in tights. So, our team has aggregated a few of the most common questions we get on this topic, but I have a feeling I'm going to be doing a part two just because we get so many questions on this topic all the time. So, if you have any follow up questions or questions that weren't answered by this episode, please let us know. We would be more than happy to talk about them. Okay, so to kick things off, let's dial it back all the way, and I'm going to answer the question how we started to sell to men in the first place. So, many of you know the story of how I started Threads in 2018. And I started the brand because I couldn't find good quality, comfortable tights to wear to work. A lot of the stuff out there was very old fashioned. And I knew there was a problem there because all the female coworkers in my office sort of expressed the same frustration. At this point, I had no idea there were so many men out there who like to wear tights. So, probably wondering, how did we discover this segment? So we started in 2018, but we didn't start running social media ads until 2019. So many of you know when you run social media ads, the algorithm is very smart. So sometimes, even if you say, I want to target women who work in corporate jobs, sometimes the algorithm will disregard that and it'll serve your ads to people who are the most likely to buy your product. So even if it's not in your initial targeted demographic. So soon after we launched these social media ads, I noticed we would get an order from a guy here and another order there. Not anything that would sort of dictate a pattern at the beginning. It was mostly just sporadic. And a lot of the times I would just sort of assume that they were buying for their girlfriends or their wives. So I didn't really think anything of it at the beginning. But over time, as we spent a little bit more money on ads, and I noticed the pattern was definitely getting bigger, I decided to do a little bit of digging. So for the first few years, I would send out a welcome email to each first-time customer, just asking them about their experience so far with the product and our customer service and anything we could do to improve just their overall experience. And it was through this email where I got so much information on why these men were buying. And it was through this email that I learned these men were buying not just for their wives or for their girlfriends or their moms, but they were buying for themselves. And they were wearing tights for a variety of reasons, which I will cover in a bit. And this was the first time that I realized there was actually a pretty large community out there of men who were wearing tights. And at the beginning of 2020, as you know, there was a global pandemic and people were not really leaving their homes for the first few months. It was at this point where I realized there were men that were still buying tights despite the world being shut down. But it was at this point where we realized so many men were still buying them because they were still wearing tights at home. So that is the story of how we discovered the male community. Okay, so now that you know the origin story of our male community, I'm going to answer a question that is definitely one of our most asked questions. This is usually a question that's asked by someone who is just discovering that men wear tights. And the question is, why are men wearing tights? So this question has many answers, and depending on who you are, the answer is always just a little bit different. So what our team did 2 years ago is we actually sent out a survey to our male community and we asked them, why do you wear tights? So our idea was to aggregate all of these answers and write a blog post about it. And you can actually read that blog post on our blog. So I will link it below. Very interesting. So to summarize that post, I would say all the answers could be fit into four buckets or 4 reasons. So the 4 reasons are number 1, warmth and practicality. Number 2, comfort. Number 3, compression or health reasons. And number 4, self-expression. So let's go through all of those. So number 1, warmth and practicality. This is sort of a no-brainer. Women wear tights for this reason as well, but basically tights are just another layer. So in the winter, sometimes, if you want another layer under your pants, tights are a great option. If you're wearing shorts and you want just a very small layer, that's a great option as well. So actually, something that I discovered while running Threads is there are a lot of men out there who actually wear tights under their outdoor uniform. So whether they're in the Army or the Navy or they work in the woods and have sort of an outdoor job, this is a very common use case. And not only can it be an extra layer for warmth, but it also prevents bug bites, like tick bites. Again, totally makes sense intuitively. I just didn't know that this was a reason until our community told me. So for each reason, I'm actually going to share a few quotes that I think are interesting that are directly from the responses that we got from our community on why they wear tights. So for warmth and practicality, the first quote is, "Tights help me regulate temperature, prevent bug bites on hikes, and give support during motorcycle rides. They're practical, simple as that." And then the second quote that I thought was interesting was, "In Minnesota winters, I wear pantyhose under my pants that keep me warm without the bulk of long johns." Very cool. So next we have comfort. Again, this is kind of a no-brainer. Many men just like the feeling of an additional layer of nylon. So sometimes even if they don't need compression tights medically, it feels like a very light layer of support. So I'm going to share a quote that I think is a great analogy. And he says, "The best way I can describe it is like a weighted blanket for my legs. It helps with anxiety and I feel more relaxed when I'm wearing tights." So very cool. I don't know if any of you have tried a weighted blanket, but they are amazing. We have them, and there's just something about the weighted blanket where like once you put it on, it just, your entire body relaxes. So I thought that was really cool that he use that analogy. And okay, let's go to another quote that was submitted under comfort. And he says, "I started wearing tights during ballet, but I quickly realized how incredible they feel. They're like a hug for your legs." Again, another beautiful analogy. Like, who wouldn't want a hug, right? So the third reason why men like to wear tights is due to health and compression and recovery. So I have spoken a lot about our compression tights in our previous office hours. If you want to learn a little bit more, I will link the first office hours here just about compression. I talk a lot about why compression is beneficial. But hosiery, and compression hosiery in particular, a lot of the time is recommended by doctors after surgery, or if you have sort of an underlying health problem, just because it helps with circulation, it helps with blood flow, it helps just overall wellness. And a lot of you know how passionately I feel about this, but I think that most people can really benefit from compression. So again, I will link the video here. I sort of go a little bit more in depth talking about compression and why I love it. So I'm going to share some quotes. So, "After multiple surgeries with varicose veins, I was told to wear compression stockings. Pantyhose became a more affordable and stylish option, and they work just as well." So this is someone who is just wearing normal pantyhose instead of the compression type. So another quote that we had is, "I've had both knees replaced. Tights help reduce muscle fatigue and leg cramps. I even wear them hiking." Great quotes. So the fourth big reason why men wear tights is self-expression and confidence. So just like with any other fashion item, we wear clothes, of course, for a practical reason, but a lot of it is self-expression, and we want to, show the world our style and sort of who we are as individuals. So we have a lot of men who are part of the drag community or the cross-dressing community, and they love to wear tights as part of their self-expression. I will say though, one of the biggest misconceptions about our male community is that a lot of people think that every guy in our male community is part of the LGBTQA plus community, which is not true at all. We have many, many cis men who have partners, female partners. So yes, while a lot of members of our community are part of the LGBTQA plus community, it's definitely not all. A very common thing is we'll have a man order a few pairs for himself and then also a few pairs for his wife. So very, very cool. So I'm just going to share a few quotes again. The first one is, as a straight guy, I used to be afraid to wear pantyhose, but over time I realized I like how they look and feel, and that's reason enough. I love that so much. And another quote is, they make me feel sexy and empowered, like makeup for your legs. I love all these quotes. They're such good quotes. So those are sort of the main 4 buckets. I would say out of the 150 responses that we've received from our male community answering the question, why do men wear tights? Most of them could be filed under one of these 4 reasons. Another common thread that I noticed throughout all the responses, and by the way, our team went through every single one of the responses. So cool. Also why it took us a very long time to actually get the blog post written. But one of the main threads that I noticed across all the responses is that so many men are just, they want to break the stigma of this product being traditionally for women or viewed as for women, which I thought was really cool. So clearly, it's just a very progressive group of men who are interested in seeing hosiery as an accessory and not something that's necessarily gendered. So I hope that answered that question. If you have a reason for wearing tights that's out of these 4 buckets, I would love to hear them. All right, so another question that we get very often, and this is usually from our existing male customers, and it's how many other men are wearing tights, or, am I the only one? So this is really interesting because I think there are a lot of men out there who wear tights and they have no idea how many other guys there are that wear tights. And usually when our team responds, that answer is very surprising to them, but like in a good way. The male community out there is so much bigger than the average person thinks. So currently, approximately 30 to 35% of our customers are men. So that number ranges depending on the time of year, but they are also some of our most high lifetime value customers. So a lot of these male customers are actually more likely to spend a lot over the duration of their time with Threads as a customer. Other observations, they are also actually a lot more likely to respond to our marketing emails. And I also have noticed that a lot of them are more discerning about the craftsmanship of the actual tights, and they're more well versed in kind of the intricacies on how the tights are designed, which of course we really appreciate because we're so proud of our design that it's really special and makes our team feel really good when you guys notice it. So let me know what you think about this number because I find that most people are very shocked at how high it is. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. So another question we get a lot is, what are our bestsellers for men? So what are men buying? What are they gravitating towards? So our top 4 bestsellers, and this is not in order, are our TFM Fly tights, our sheer contour tights, our sheer to waist tights, and our opaque contour tights. So these 4 pairs of tights are just the best-selling tights all year round for men. And not surprising because these are pretty much the best sellers as well for women, minus the TFM Fly tights. So from what I've seen, men usually fall into 2 categories. You either like something with a control top and something with a little bit more shaping, or you don't. So a control top would be our contoured control top. So our sheer contour tights, our opaque contour tights, and our TFM Fly tights all have our contoured control top, while our sheer to waist tights and anything that's a sheer to waist style does not have a control top. So I find that usually you either fall into one group or the other, but there are definitely men out there that wear both. So our number 1 best-selling pair of tights for men and women is the sheer contour. And I think some men are surprised by this because we have the tights that are designed specifically for men. So if you don't know about our Fly tights, we launched them in 2021, and we designed this pair of tights based on the feedback of over 150 men from our community So we, again, with most of our other products, we go out and we ask you, what do you currently like about your tights? What do you not like? What's on your wish list? And then we take that information and we try to create like the perfect pair of tights. So in this case, we were trying to create a style that was pretty much just for men, that took into account what men wanted, their anatomy and their measurements. So the TFM tights is what we came out with. We launched them in 2021 and the reception has been so good. We have them in two colors, in black and tan, and we actually just got a restock. So we have full stock in all sizes, and there's actually a bonus size. So anyway, I'm digressing, but that pair of tights is actually not our number one best-selling pair of tights with men. The number one best-selling pair of tights with men is actually a sheer contour. We find that sheer contour is pretty similar to the TFM tights, just in terms of the contoured control top situation. Of course, the men's tights have the cotton fly, which some men love, but some men also don't care about it. So if you are looking for something and you're not really interested in the cotton fly, then sheer contour is there and it's great. It's also a little bit less in price, so it's, more of a, if you're value conscious, that would be a really great pick for you. So that's just, interesting tidbit. Our TFM flights are not the best selling pair of tights, but if you are someone who values the panel in the front, it's, I would recommend that all day. And I find that the people who love the panel, they won't really stray away from the panel. So again, it's totally personal preference. It's, I guess, some of the guys in our community told me it's a little bit like underwear. Some guys really prefer the flap at the front and some guys don't care. So sort of the same thing. Another question we get is, why do the fly tights cost more than the sheer contour? And the reason is the front panel it takes a lot of materials and most of all labor to put in. It's hand sewn, so it takes, a lot more human hours. And, that's the main reason for the cost. But interestingly, it's also our lowest margin product. So, even though it costs a lot, it also costs a lot for us to make. And it's a little bit of like a passion product for us. When you look at the margins, it is the lowest margin, but we definitely want to offer it, and it's such a core part of our brand. So that's why we still have it. So if you are new to Threads and you have no idea what you want, we actually have a bestsellers for men bundle where you can try out one pair of each of these styles just to see what you like. And then going forward, you can, shop for what you like. And if you do get the bundle, you do save a little bit of money when you buy all the pairs together. So I would definitely recommend that if you have no idea what you like and not really sure where to start. As always, our team is always available to talk about product selections and sizing. So if you don't know and have a question, please, please, please email us and ask. So the next question we have here, we get a lot, in particular during our Friday AMAs that I used to do on our Instagram account. And it's, what do you think about the societal stigma? When will men wearing tights be fully accepted? So this is a little bit of a complicated answer. Of course, I don't have a magic ball where I can say, in year blank, it'll all be good. But there definitely is still a stigma, which is disappointing. So at Threads, we obviously believed that tights are just an accessory and it shouldn't be a piece of clothing that's gendered. After all, it's 2025. I think it's really ridiculous that people are saying that tights are just like a women's product. I think it's very closed-minded and ignorant. Unfortunately, as being a tights brand, and especially one that outwardly advertises that we welcome men and women, we have seen a lot of the stigma firsthand. So for example, every time we run an ad that has a guy wearing a pair of tights, which is like every day we have these ads that are just on Facebook, we do get comments of people that are just like, what's going on? Like this, I mean, to be honest, I think it looks ignorant on their part. And I think for every comment we get that's in that nature, there's also someone else responding to them being like, grow up, it's 2025. So yeah, surprisingly, it's still like kind of a controversial topic, but it's definitely not something our brand is going to really shy away from just because it's controversial or there's stigma. I think that in order for the stigma to sort of disappear or be lessened, there just needs to be more representation of men in tights with brands, but also in popular media. So, you know, if we are showing male models wearing tights on our website, that's going to be really helpful. Or if you see a guy wearing tights like on TV, that'll be really helpful as well. We get so excited when there's press coverage that covers our men's tights, or just the idea that we have a huge male community that wears tights, because mostly for us, it means that there's representation and, there's other people out there who are seeing, okay, it's very normal for a guy to wear a pair of tights. There's also a lot of men out there that are curious about tights. And I feel like if there was more representation, they would probably feel a lot more comfortable with giving them a try. But in the meantime, I would say if you're seeing comments on the internet of people like hating on men wearing tights, I would just say ignore them. I think that's the nature of the internet. There's always going to be someone with an opinion, and it's not necessarily going to be an opinion that you think is right or that you agree with. I think you should just do whatever that makes you happy, especially when it comes to fashion. Like, fashion should be fun. Fashion should be always changing. What you are really into now is maybe not what you're going to be into in 5 years. So I just think, if wearing tights makes you happy, then you should do it for sure. Okay, the last question of this episode is, where can I find styling tips for men? This is always something people are interested in, particularly on social media. And because of this, our team has been creating men's style guides for the past few years. So we always come out every 6 months or so with a kind of like a unisex overall style guide, but then from time to time, we'll also launch male specific style guides. So I will link them here in the comments to this video. But overall, I would say, fashion is so much about like trying different things, self-expression, sort of like doing what feels right to you. At the end of the day, most of our team is women. So when we are creating these style guides, I want to say that just we're creating them from like a women's point of view. And it should definitely not be the be all end all for styling tights. This is just what we have seen and think looks cool, but it's definitely not exhaustive. We love seeing your tagged photos of you guys wearing tights, so definitely keep them coming. And yeah, I would say like definitely check out our style guides. Very, very proud of our team for doing them, but it's not like an end all be all. I think you should wear your clothes and your tights in the way that you choose. There's usually also a difference between people who want to really show off their tights and there are people who don't. They just want to wear them under the pants and they wear them for function and they don't really care about the fashion piece of it. And the flip side is, people who really want to show them off. So people who are wearing the pattern tights, the bright color tights. So there's a huge variation. Again, definitely check out our style guides. And if you do, let us know what you think. So that's it for this episode of Office Hours. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope I answered some of your most pressing questions about men wearing tights in our male community. If you have any follow-up questions, I would absolutely love to answer them on a future episode. Maybe we can do a part 2, because I know you guys have a lot of questions on this topic. So again, I'm going to have the submission form in the comments of this video, but you can also just comment on this video as well, and I would love to cover it in a future episode. So yeah, I would love to hear if you've tried our tights, and if you have, please let us know how you like them. All right, have a good week. Talk to you guys later.